Okay. Do you have some stuff for us to work on today? Something that you would like help with that could get you closer to your goal of getting through this class?
Honestly, we haven't really changed much of what we're doing. We're still doing the shapes. We just did spheres yesterday, which is pretty easy.
Yeah, you guys are moving at a snail's pace. That's
Yeah.
okay. Is there other stuff that is going to be on the final, like final exam review,
He
review
hasn't given
packet?
us really anything, to be honest, in the final.
Okay,
We're just slowly moving through. I know next Thursday I'll have a test review worksheet for my test that's coming up,
good.
so we can go over that. But right now I don't really have a
Okay.
lot to
Yeah,
go
I'll do
over.
the same thing I did with your brother is I'll look for just a very basic geometry final exam, kind of emphasizing stuff I know is towards the end of the course. Um, yeah, the sooner you can get something though, that's even better, obviously. So um, keep that in mind. I also talked to mom about adding another lesson, so we'll do that and next week. But yeah, I've got some problems up here. Kind of go back to maybe circle stuff. So if you're ready, you'll definitely need a notebook, pencil, calculator, all that. You got that ready to go?
Let me go grab my calculator real quick.
Sounds good.
All right, I'm back.
All right. Okay, let's go ahead and get started here. Share my screen. I'm actually already sharing, so we'll jump off the video and get started here. Okay, here we go. All right, so and do you know if your final exam is going to be multiple choice, free response, some of both?
I personally have no idea.
No idea. Okay, these are good questions to ask. Just sort of like shows that you're motivated here. This problem is asking for the circumference of the circle. Like us to find the circumference and then the area. Do you remember the formula for circumference?
It's 2 pi times r, which would be
Good,
18 in this case.
great. So what is the answer for circumference? A, B, C, or D?
It is. Wait a minute. I think I did this wrong. We do
You said
two
everything right. I heard all the right stuff.
2 times pi times 18 gives me 113.
So notice all the answers have a pi in them. Your answer will have a pi in it as
Oh,
well. So it's 2 times 18, leave the pi off to the side.
all right. Okay, yeah. And then, do you want me to find area? Or would it be
Which is
in
the
this
correct
case?
answer? Sorry, let's make sure we got that. Which is the correct answer? A, B, C, or D?
C. Or, sorry, B.
B. Okay, good. Now let's find area.
So area is pi times r squared.
Good.
So
And I would recommend using a calculator for the squaring part, especially if you're allowed to do it. You do not have to, well, your answer will have a pi in it.
and so we'll have a pi in it.
Yes.
So 18 squared is 324. So 324 pi would be the circumference or the area.
Yes. 324 pi and then inches squared.
Inches squared, yeah.
So notice in a multiple choice, they could give you both the area and the circle as answers, and you would have to be able to distinguish between the two of them.
Gotcha.
All right. Okay, so here's a problem we have not done, which could be good, could be bad. It's called a composite shape. To find the area of the shaded portion of the figure, dimensions are in feet. Leave your answer in terms of pi. So what maybe isn't clear, I'm going to draw it for you here, is that there's a trapezoid. and then there's a circle. And I actually like to draw them separately because I think it's easier to distinguish between them when you do that.
Yeah.
The area of a circle we've already talked about. It's pi r squared. And do you know the radius?
The radius is 4 in this case.
So we know that. That's good. Okay. The trapezoid, do you remember any of the formulas for trapezoid?
Its area equals 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2.
Good. And they're giving you base 1 and they're giving you base 2, which is nice. That's very kind of them.
So I would do,
Okay. But what is the height? How can we find the height? And it's based on the circle.
height is, would height be 2 times the radius? So it would
Yes,
be 8.
that would be 8 as well. Very good. All right. So I want you to calculate just the area of the trapezoid for us, please.
So it's half height 8. Base 1 is 8 plus 9. Gives me, I think I did that wrong. I just did it wrong. So no, I did. So 8.
Just the trapezoid.
68 is
Yes,
the
it
area
is
of the
68. Okay. And then separately find the area of the circle, but leave it in terms of pi.
So for the area would be R, so that'd just be 4. There'd just be 16 pi.
16 pi. Good. Very good. So it says to leave your answer in terms of pi. This would be the correct answer here. All right. Any questions on some of that? Any of that?
Would that just be the answer? 16 minus, or 68
Yes.
minus 16 pi?
Yes, that is the answer.
Nope, that's pretty easy. Let's
All right.
know the formulas.
I want to make some adjustments to this image before we so this is 4 meters. And yeah, let's do, yeah, this is good now. Okay. All right, so this is a prism. What is the volume of a prism formula, if you recall?
Prism is, isn't it base times height?
Base times height. Very good. What is the base shape here? It's not what it's sitting on. That's kind of your hint.
It would be 4 in this case, right? Or would it be 3?
The base is a shape.
Oh. It's would it be a not triangle?
Yes, yes.
Triangle?
It's a triangle because the 2 triangles are parallel to each other. They never intersect.
Gotcha.
That's really important.
And then,
so how do you find the area of this triangle?
on the area of a triangle, it's 1/2 base times height. So
Okay.
I think, so
Do you have enough? Yeah, do you have enough to find the area of this triangle?
yeah, so I do 4 times 3.
Okay.
I divide that by 2, which gives me 6. So the volume is 6 in this case.
Right. And the height really isn't always the height. It's really the distance between the bases. In this case, like think of these as your distance between the bases, these posts, which are going horizontal in our picture. That's the height.
That's the height. So in this case, would it be 4 times 36?
6 times 36.
Oh, 6 times, sorry.
Yeah, you said 3 times 4 divided by 2 is 12.
So 6. is 216. So the volume of this prism is 216.
And what are the units of volume?
Meters cubed.
Okay. Now, have we talked about surface area, or have you guys been talking about surface area or not?
Just starting surface area.
Okay. We'll come back to that then. Okay, here's a new problem for you to try. You are welcome to ask me for any formulas that you think you need. I will give you any formula you need for this.
Cylinder. So that is to find the volume is pi r squared times height. So a squared is 64. Times that by 11. Oh. Wait a minute. What did I do wrong? It's 704. That's not right. I'm getting 704 pi.
Okay, what formula are you using for volume?
I'm using the cylinder formula. Volume
What?
equals pi r squared times height.
So base times height, and the base is a circle, so it is pi r squared. What's the radius?
The radius is 8.
Pi times 8 squared. So 8 squared is 64. What's the height?
11.
It is 11. Okay, the reason you're not getting the answers is because it was asking for something different. It was asking for, I think, surface area or something. Good, but you got the right answer. 700 and 704 pi inches cubed. Good. Okay. Trying to decide here whether we should go and do more. We should do more. This is all just review, kind of. Okay, volume of a cone. Volume of a cone, really similar to cylinder, but not.
So this is to find the volume. It's 1/3 pi r squared times h.
Yes, it's 1/3 the area of the base times the height. The base is pi r squared, like you said. Could you round your answer this time? Round to the nearest tenth.
The nearest 10. So 3 squared times 15. So what did I do? Squared times 15. It's 135, and then I gotta divide that by 3, which gives me 45 pi is the answer. Is the volume.
Okay, this time I want you to go to the calculator though and
Oh.
round to the nearest tenth.
To the next house. Squared. Gives you 141.4.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, yeah, I do think we should go back and do some like older stuff that you might have seen in your course. Maybe some triangle stuff. I don't know. How do you feel about triangle stuff?
To be honest, I don't really remember a ton about the triangle stuff. I do know like the Pythagorean's theorem and stuff like that.
Okay, let's start with something pretty basic here. Not going to overwhelm you. We only got a little bit of time anyway, so I can't go crazy. Let's say this is A and this is 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Do you remember sine, cosine, and tangent?
Yes.
Okay. So in this problem, sine of A is 4/5. Okay, do you remember any acronyms or anything to remember sine, cosine, tangent?
It's I forgot what it was. It was Sakatoa or something like that.
So good, pretty close. So Katoa, better than some others I've heard. And the way I write it so that you know what goes in what order. So S, O, H, O goes on top, H goes on the bottom. So relative to A, okay, it's like imagine you're standing there. 4 is opposite. It's the furthest away from you. Now, H is always the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always across from the 90. Okay. And you might wonder, well, why? Well, what's 3? Well, 3 is the adjacent, but it depends on where you are. Okay. Because as soon as you're standing up here at the other angle position, some things flip. Like 3 is now the opposite when you're standing up here at the top.
Yeah.
And the adjacent,
Now this is starting to come back to me a little bit.
the adjacent is right next to you. Okay. The hypotenuse stays the same regardless.
Yes.
All right.
Mhm.
So you have to know this. I'll write it down for our next problem here. You also need to know the Pythagorean theorem, which you just mentioned. Okay, so we're gonna work on a problem here where you need to do a bit more work to do this. This is 5, this is 12, and I want you to find the cosine of A. Cosine of A. And you have TOA at your disposal. And you also have A squared plus B squared equal T squared at your disposal.
So that's if A is, that means that so 12 would be the opposite in this case.
We don't want opposite though, we're using cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse.
Oh. Adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent would be 5. We don't know hypotenuse, so we do, it would be, hypotenuse is always C. It would be A, so it would be 12 squared
Okay, plus 5 squared.
plus 5 squared equals C squared. Put that into my calculator. So C 12 squared is 144 plus 5 squared equals 25 equals C. So if I just so it gives me 13. So C.
Good, really good.
13.
Okay, good. So what is cosine of A?
So the cosine of A would be, I need to find the adjacent hypotenuse. It would be 5 over 13.
What about the sine of A? Well, what does that become?
The sine of A becomes the oh, I don't remember how to do that, to be honest.
Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So katoa, you get,
Oh.
this tells you what it is down here.
Oh,
And that's why
sorry.
I'm writing it to help you out. I don't mean for you to have to.
So that would be opposite over hypotenuse. So that'd be,
Okay.
It would be 12 over 13.
Good. And then last one here, what's tangent of A?
Tangent would be 12 over 5.
You got it. Really good. Getting the hang of this?
Yeah, now it's come back to me. It's
Coming
gonna,
back to you. I like that. So that's where I increase the difficulty a little bit. Let's say this is B, this is 15, and this is 17. And we first want the cosine of B. So you know, so katoa here. So to find the cosine of B, you need the adjacent. Do you have the adjacent side?
not have the adjacent.
You do not. So to find it, you have to use the A squared plus B squared equal C squared. But this time, I'm not giving you the 2 legs, I'm giving you the hypotenuse in a leg.
So it would be A squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared.
Good, good.
Let me do the math. 15 squared is 225. 7 squared plus 225 And then 17 squared equals 289. And then I would subtract 225 from both sides. Correct?
You're subtracting, yeah, the 225 from both sides. You get this a squared or b squared equals 64, I think.
Yes. And then would I square root that, or would I just leave it like that?
You'd have to take the square root of that.
It's okay to square root of that. So 64 is 8. So a squared equals 8. Or just a equals 8, I guess, in this case.
Yes, so this is 8. Very good. So cosine of b, can you calculate that for us, please?
So the cosine of b, if you're looking for cosine, so that'd be adjacent, which would be 8 over 17.
Very good. And let's have you do sine of b.
Sine would be 15 over 17.
Okay, very good. And we'll keep going here. Last one, tangent of b.
Would be 8 over 15.
Try again.
Oh, opposite over adjacent. Oh, 15 over 8, sorry.
Very good. Now, watch this. I'm going to label this one A now. Sine of A ends up being 8 over 17. Do you agree with that? From A, 8 is opposite. That's still the hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse.
Yes.
And notice these are the same. That's interesting. What's the cosine of B? Well, I'm sorry, cosine of A. Cosine of A is 15 over 17. So there's this relationship between the sine of one angle and the cosine of the other, or the sine of one angle and the cosine of the other. They are the same. Unfortunately, the niceness ends there. The tangent of A ends up being 8 over 15, which kind of is this. It's just the reciprocal, if you will. It's not too bad.
All right. I think it's come back to me.
That's good. Okay. Do you remember any of these? Cosecant, secant, and cotangent.
I remember bits and pieces of them, but not a lot.
So cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Okay.
Is that when you do like negative sine?
That's different. Yeah, you gotta be careful with that. So these are all what are called reciprocal identities. This is again one of those things that would be good to go and ask your instructor about and say, hey, do we need to know these? Can I have a reference sheet? You don't want to be caught off guard because this isn't difficult if you have the formulas, if you have them. Okay. So for example, here, let's say I told you that sine of A is 3/5, and I asked you for cosecant of A. Well, cosecant of A is 1 over sine A, which is the reciprocal of sine A, which means you just flip the numbers. See how these are flipped?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same thing for like cosine. Let's say cosine of A in some problem is 4/5, and I asked you for the secant of A. Well, it's 1 over cosine of A, which is the reciprocal. It's the flip again. Okay. So there are a number of these reciprocal identities, relationships that you might need to know. This would be again good to ask. The more you ask, the more you know, better idea. Sometimes you can just read their body language. They sort of tell you without telling you what's going to happen. All right. Well, we are all out of time for today. We're going to stop the recording.